man, this looks so nice. I've been shooting with this lens for a couple of weeks now, and there's only one thing that I think they could improve about it. They should be making it for Nikon Z mount and Canon mount as well, not only Sony. Hopefully that's coming soon, because I think this is the best value mirrorless portrait lens I've ever used. Roll the credits.
This video is brought to you by Rebloom, my choice for professional portrait retouching. More on that later. Over the past couple of years, Viltrox have really been on a roll. I've done a couple of independent reviews on their lenses and been really impressed. The first being the 85 1.8 for Z cameras. Compare that to Nikon's own. It's close in terms of performance and much lower in price. Then we've got the 75 1.2, which was the first of their pro lenses that I got to test out. And forgetting price, it's just an excellent performing lens. Now this is APS-C, but the speed, the focus acquisition, reliability, the image quality, the resolution, the sharpness, the bokeh, everything is just doing really, really nicely on it, and I'm really impressed on it. And in fact, I use this from time to time on full frame cameras. With the crop factor enabled, you get a nice long focal length. It's really fast in terms of its aperture, and for the price, it really can't be beaten. So as a Nikon Z user, I've been really happy to see those developments. Today we have something a little bit different and special. This is the new 1.8 135 lens, and this is the first of the LAB series of lenses. Where is it? LAB. That I'm actually getting my hands on to test out. And this has a bunch of things that, if it is up to the pro level quality that I was impressed with, I think is going to be a really great seller, if for no other reason than it looks like it's delivering in all the things that you would want in a portrait lens, and it's well less than half the price of the Sony equivalent. I say Sony in this case. All of Sony, Canon, and Nikon make 135 1.8s, but this one is a Sony mount that I have to test out. So they sent me this, and I haven't yet tested it, but we're going to in this video. But they say that it's designed to meet the needs of resolution of the highest megapixel cameras that are out on the market now, and that their new Hyper VCM motor gives you crazy fast autofocus with nearest to furthest autofocus pulls of 100 milliseconds, which I would have to say on all of the 135s, they tend to be slow and methodical, not necessarily missing shots, but on a lens like this that's got big glass elements, that's a portrait lens, they often aren't as fast and snappy as things like, say, 35, 50, or 85. So I'll definitely be interested to see how that pans out in reality. Okay, so first little impressions, taking a look around this guy. We've got the autofocus manual focus, we've got clickable, declickable aperture, we've got focus limiter, which goes from, you can either have it on full, 0.7 of a meter to 2 meters, or 1.5 meters to infinity. And 0.7 to 2 is an interesting range for, what's essentially a portrait lens. This guy has surprisingly close focus capabilities that lets you get to 0.25 reproduction, which is not bad on a lens like this. This guy also has a couple of customizable function buttons on it. We've got a customizable function ring. You'll see the little LCD display here. Interesting thing, they say that this can be updated and customized, the display. I think it's what kind of things it shows you, but maybe even the power on animation type display can be customized there. You can update the firmware directly via the camera, obviously. You'll note there's also a USB-C port on the lens here that apparently you can then power this via a battery pack and then wirelessly from your phone update the firmware and those kind of things to the lens. Kind of crazy. Other thing in terms of optics, this guy has 14 elements in 9 groups, including 4 extra low dispersion elements, and also 2 high refractive index lenses. They say that it's really great at controlling chromatic aberrations, that the vignette has been held down, and that we should be looking at crazy soft bokeh on this guy. So that all sounds great in theory. In this video, we're going to test it out on the A7 IV as well as the A9 III. I've got the Sony's own G Master 135 to compare it to as we go. And we're gonna do a bunch of shooting, show you some test shots, give you my overall hands-on impression on this guy, and see what this $900 lens can deliver. To kick things off, I headed out to my favorite aviary in Hong Kong. Now, a portrait lens isn't typical for birds, but you're able to get pretty close to the birds here, and after all, these are essentially just animal portraits. It's gonna come and undo your shoelaces. My honest first impressions shooting with this lens were, holy crap, it's better than I could have possibly expected. The focus is incredibly responsive and accurate. Through the viewfinder, the details are looking great, and once I got back in studio to check them, it's just confirmed what I saw in the field. Viltrox are really onto a winner here. Started to get a bit repetitive with the same birds coming back to the feeders, so I headed back to my local neighborhood, shot a few little puppies and whatnot. You can't go too wrong with that.
We can compare your size to this big lens. So this is 1/8 of an MJ.
But this is a 135 1/8. We really need to go do a proper portrait shoot. So I met up with Honey for some portraits around sunset. We made use of the warm sun and the natural backgrounds to see what this 1.8 aperture can really do. You can check out the files for yourself. It's everything you want it to be. Sharp and contrasty where you want it to be on her face, and buttery smooth in the background. These shots after dark at the vending machine were really fun, simple to get, just using the glow of the drinks to light her up. And then we found a restaurant that had little fairy lights hung up, which made for another great bokeh background. The images you're seeing in this video have already been run through Rebloom, which analyzes each image and retouches skin blemishes, discoloration, and pimples as softly or comprehensively as you like, without losing the natural texture of the skin. You can grab yourself a free trial at the link in the video description. The next day I met up with Hana for some daylight portraits, but I'll be honest, I got distracted again by lots of local animals. One of the shops had 3 Bengal cats and a Maine Coon, and I spent probably 45 minutes in there. I have to say, with the A9 III, the low light autofocus worked a charm. I really didn't miss any shots, even with these cats running and hiding and whatnot. The focus is much better than I expected. It is able to move through that range incredibly quickly. Now, we did, however, manage to get some portraits of Hana before we left the island, and we were able to use some good light. make sure you check out the sample files below. These shoots are always so much fun. If you're interested to see a full uncut behind the scenes of my different photo shoots, be sure to check out my Patreon. About a week later, I had the Sony G Master delivered, so I'm meeting up with Honey again to compare them side by side, $2,100 lens versus the $800 lens.
I was shooting with the Viltrox for a couple of weeks before, thanks to B&H Photo. They sent out the G Master for me to try out. It is slightly smaller, but I really don't notice a difference in terms of performance. The focus acquisition, I quite liked that they both have the different focus limiters that you can put on there, but they're both crazy fast to get focus and accurate. I'm not finding that I'm missing shots on either one. And something that, I pointed out the price difference, but $2,300 versus $800, that's a huge difference. And this specific focal length, not just for Sony, Nikon also make it, Canon makes something very similar too. I personally know people on every one of the mounts who've bought a 135 portrait lens and then ended up selling it because they found that they hardly ever used it. My assistant owned this G Master, sold it for a loss. I have other friends who've sold Canon. I have plenty of Nikon friends who are on the fence about it because they don't know whether they would use it enough to justify the price. But when the price is $800, it makes it so much easier than when you're tossing up to over $2,000. So as I said in the intro, my main hope for this lens is that they bring it out for Nikon Z mount because I really want it in my bag for my own work.
This simple portrait using the glowing McDonald's that was then reflected on the water made for a beautiful overall gold toned hue which reinforced the gold shirt that I had brought along for her to wear. To round things out, I was shooting with Felicia for an upcoming ebook and for my soon to be released Patreon page, and we got a couple of last comparisons here between the Viltrox and the Sony G Master. So big thanks to Hannah, Felicia and Honey for helping out with this one. Genuinely blown away by this lens. If they bring this out for Nikon mount, I'll be picking one up for myself. I think it's an absolute home run. If 135 is a lens that you are considering or you don't own yet but you do portraiture, I would say run, don't walk and pick up one of these. Yes, this is a sponsored video, so take that with a grain of salt, but I hope you know by now that I still always give my honest opinion, and this is, I think, the best value 135 I've ever used, and I think definitely the best value lens release of 2024. I was really impressed by the Viltrox Pro lenses in the past. This lab takes it to another level, and the price is just unbeatable. Take a look at what you get natively with Sony for that kind of money. It doesn't go far anymore, so to be able to get something that's delivering really fantastic results and spot on autofocus, I can't fault it. It's just an absolute no-brainer. I think they could have priced this significantly more expensively and it would still be a really viable option because it's right up there with the Sony in so many regards at what, 30-40% of the price. It's really, really incredible. If you get a chance to go hands-on with it, check it out for yourself. You can also check out the sample files below. Thank you to Viltrox for sending this one over so I could check it out. Let me know any questions you have, and I'll see you guys soon.